Forget the smoky back rooms. What stunned me most about the world's most powerful mafia bosses was the unimaginable empire of private islands, luxury yachts, and billionaire-level opulence hidden behind their criminal empires. I was fascinated, almost hypnotized, peeling back the layers of how these notorious figures built their underground kingdoms and how they managed to not only survive, but thrive while operating under the constant threat of law enforcement, betrayal, and rivals. That undercurrent of danger, mixed with an extravagant lifestyle, is both captivating and deeply unsettling. Let's start with the incredible story of Matteo Messina Denaro, one of the era's most elusive and feared crime bosses. Born into a family already steeped in the shadowy traditions of the Sicilian Mafia, Denaro seemed almost destined for a life defined by secrecy, influence, and ruthless ambition. As the years rolled by, he crafted a reputation as the Phantom, a man who always stayed a step ahead of police investigations and managed to slip through the tightest nets. What struck me most about his story was not just the breadth of his empire, but the variety: real estate, renewable energy, shell companies, and international investment funds, each carefully structured not only to generate wealth, but to launder it on a scale that defies belief. When digging into the details of his fortune, I was staggered by just how massive it was. Authorities spent decades chasing the money, only to discover a labyrinth of legitimate and illicit assets, dozens of luxury properties, sprawling agricultural lands, companies in renewable energy fields, and even a 21-meter yacht. The asset seizures alone ran into the billions. Each time the law thought it had finally caught up, another arm of Denaro's empire would appear, proof that this world operates on a different plane, where money isn't just about luxury, but survival and control. And yet, Denaro wasn't just another rich criminal. He was a style icon in the underworld, famous for his sharp taste in high fashion, his collection of vintage watches and cars, and an aura that made him the subject of almost mythic stories in Sicily and beyond. Ultimately, his arrest in 2023 ended a 3-decade run, but even that was bittersweet. It left behind the lesson that, in the long run, patience and persistence often win in the fight for justice. The next chapter in this world is the life and reign of Griselda Blanco. Her story upends every cliche people have about both gender and organized crime. Blanco wasn't just another player, she was the architect of an empire during Miami's wildest decades, shaping the city's darkest economy with an iron will. Born in Colombia, her early life was marked by unimaginable adversity, yet she turned her circumstances into a platform for power. In the 1980s, Miami was her canvas, and she painted it with ambition, ruthlessness, and a taste for luxury. Multi-million-dollar mansions, private jets, and a jewelry collection that glittered with rare diamonds. What's so compelling about Blanco's journey is not just her ability to navigate the male-dominated, fiercely dangerous world of the drug trade, but to dominate it with innovation and calculated violence. For decades, even after high-profile arrests and stints in prison, her influence lingered, shaping the way organized crime operated on an international level. And yet, as with so many at the top, her story ended in violence. Another stark reminder that in this world, power rarely brings peace. Carlos Later's story reads like something out of a blockbuster film, complete with private islands, a relentless ambition, and tactical genius. Born in Colombia with modest roots, Later's rise hinged on his audacity and creativity, especially when he and his notorious partner George Young revolutionized drug smuggling by embracing private aviation as their edge. At the core of his operations was Norman's Cay in the Bahamas, a tropical fortress where luxury and secrecy merged. I couldn't help but marvel at the scale. An island valued at millions, a runway that welcomed fleets of private planes, luxury villas dotted across the sand, and a robust security system to keep prying eyes far away. Leder's love affair with fast jets and luxury yachts was legendary, and yet these displays of wealth were only the visible tip of a much broader underworld iceberg. Leder didn't just want money, he wanted political influence, going so far as to try and build his own government in Colombia to further insulate his operations. Of course, that ambition drew the wrath of powerful enemies, and in time, the full might of the US and Colombian authorities. Leder's eventual arrest and the dismantling of his empire is a masterclass in the risks of unchecked ambition and the inescapable reach of justice. A story that still sends a chill down my spine is the saga of Victor Bout, a figure who, unlike the others, wasn't focused on narcotics, but on the global arms trade. Dubbed the Merchant of Death, his operation was vast, complex, and devastatingly efficient. Starting in the chaos following the Soviet Union's collapse, Bout envisioned a logistics empire that could deliver anything, anywhere, whether that meant legal shipments or clandestine cargo destined for war zones. He built a spiderweb network of front companies, fake documents, and legitimate shipping businesses, all hiding the movement of massive amounts of weaponry. This wasn't just business, it was one of the most effective and lethal supply chains ever crafted. The parts that struck me hardest were the stories of planes loaded with weapons flying under the radar to feed conflicts in Africa, the Middle East, and South America. Despite the enormous risks, Bout lived extravagantly. Luxurious homes, international business ties, and a network wide enough to shield him from justice for years. When his luck finally ran out, it was only after an intricate sting ended his reign. The scale of his influence lingers, a stark reminder of the shadow economy's impact on conflicts and global security. Turning from the world of weapons back to drug empires, now let's talk about Gilberto Rodriguez Orejuela, another study in intelligence, patience, and the art of building influence in the shadows. As the co-founder of Colombia's Cali cartel, Orejuela's empire wasn't forged in open war, but in boardrooms, banks, and backroom deals. Unlike rivals who used violence as the primary tool, Orejuela was a strategist, preferring to build alliances, corrupt officials, and launder money through legitimate businesses, pharmacies, banks, and real estate. The numbers are staggering. Billions in assets, a luxury villa in Cali, elite apartments in Miami Beach, and a car collection featuring the likes of Rolls-Royce and Ferrari. Private jets, exclusive parties, and political influence were all part of maintaining his grip on the market. But power built from shadows can vanish just as quickly. Orejuela's downfall came with a grand police raid, a hidden room, and the classic image of a man finally cornered by fate. Even so, the web he spun remains a cautionary monument to the dangers of mixing strategy with criminal ambition. Then there's Khun Sa, the king of the Golden Triangle, whose operations redefined the Southeast Asian underworld. What fascinates me is how he blended raw criminal enterprise with legitimate business acumen. Not only was he deeply involved in drug trade, but he was equally passionate about building lasting, above-board wealth in mining, real estate, and agriculture. By the 80s and 90s, his empire's value reached into the billions, and the scope was staggering. Fortified villas, hundreds of acres in Myanmar and Thailand, a fleet of armored vehicles for moving goods through jungles and across borders, and a network of legitimate businesses designed to blur the line between black and white markets. Unlike rivals who ended in jail or on the run, Khun Sa strategically negotiated his retirement, ultimately living out his days in Yangon. It's a rare story of a crime boss who managed for a time to parlay criminal skill into a semi-respectable exit, proof that cunning, not just brute force, often decides who wins and loses in this world. I found the story of Dawood Ibrahim particularly fascinating, a man who turned hard early years in Mumbai into a launching pad for a truly global criminal corporation. His journey from local gangs to becoming the mastermind behind D Company is almost cinematic. Losing his older brother in the violent underworld only seemed to fuel his ambition. With a hand in everything from smuggling and betting to legitimate investments in real estate, Dawood's influence stretched from India to the Middle East, Southeast Asia, and far beyond. His rumored villa in Karachi, decked out with private pools, tennis courts, and a luxury gym, represents just one sliver of an empire estimated at over $6 billion. What sets Dawood apart is his adaptability, his ability to grow his syndicate's reach through strategic partnerships, diversified investments, and constant ingenuity, even as international law enforcement closed ranks. Accused of ties to major global incidents and fugitive for 3 decades, his life is a testament to how difficult it is for even the most tenacious authorities to dismantle a truly diversified, illicit empire. Each of these stories, dramatic and larger than life as they are, left me both dazzled and sobered. The extravagant lifestyles, luxury yachts, designer fashion, gold-studded mansions might appear glamorous at first glance. The truth, though, is that every empire comes with a pit of risk, betrayal, loss, violence, and the unrelenting pressure of global justice. What amazes me most is how these figures mastered the art of hiding, laundering, and investing their wealth, creating legacies that outlived even their freedom and sometimes their lives. Every moment of luxury existed under the shadow of danger and paranoia, a price that, in the end, not even billions could truly buy off. Reflecting on all this, I realize the fascination with these secret empires isn't just about the money, it's about power, ingenuity, resilience, and the human hunger for control. These mafia bosses weren't simply criminals, they were business strategists, influential social actors, and sometimes unwilling teachers in the dangers of unchecked ambition and the complexity of human nature. Their stories, filled with both brilliance and brutality, remind us that every path of power comes with consequences, and that no matter how grand the castle, the forces of change and justice are forever knocking at the gates. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more such content.